Hi everyone, this is Clayton Gillens, and I have prepared a presentation about Budgetary Slack. So to begin, I pose the question, should a company worry about Budgetary Slack? So this idea brings me to my first slide, which is an introduction into the topic. So in order to understand Budget Slack, it's important to know what budgeting is. Budgeting is a way for companies to plan for the future. This can be done on an annual basis or can be a long term period, such as 3 years. The length depends on how the company would like to use the information. And it's a good opportunity for companies to look ahead and view what their estimated costs and revenues will be. It is also an important mechanism to view company performance for the previous time period, because you can see areas that were beneficial and that should be maintained, or areas that were maybe below subpar that require additional help and resources. And this allows companies to make future decisions. So, on the next slide, there are two types of ways to create a budget. There is the top down approach and the bottoms up approach. And both are acceptable forms, but the main difference lies in who sets the budgeted amounts within the budget. In the top down approach, senior management decides what the manager's budget should look like. Sometimes the manager is allowed input, but it's very little. However, there is the bottoms up approach, which the budgeting process begins with the manager. They do research and decide on budgeted amounts and then show senior management the estimates. Um, the senior management will then sign off if they believe the numbers are reasonable. So, with the budgeting process in mind, we go to the next slide. Excuse me. The formal definition for budgetary slack is best described by Hartman and Mass. They describe it as when you set budgeted amounts either too high or too low. And this can be done by either understating revenue or overstating expenses. So we will now look at potential benefits and disadvantages budgetary slack can bring to a company. So on the next slide, we will talk about the benefits budgetary slack can offer to a company. So some companies are very cyclical or very drastically year after year. So this can make forecasting and estimates very difficult for managers when using a bottoms-up approach. If they use budgetary slack, though, they can consider the uncertainties and still have enough resources to accomplish their goals and functions as an organization. So, going on to the next slide, we talk about the potential drawbacks to budgetary slack. So, first of all, budgetary slack does not provide management with accurate amounts to make decisions with. They do not have an accurate picture. So, for example, say senior management asks a manager for their budget, they may see that the division or department or organization is either too profitable or less profitable than what it really is, and it does not describe their or show their true potential. And second, it demotivates managers. If they created easy budget amounts, it provides little incentive for them to work hard throughout the year. However, if they present the budget correctly, it drives innovation and Kaizen to find more ways to be more profitable. And lastly, allowing budgeting slack can provide ways for managers to act unethically by falsifying information to receive greater compensation. Companies do not want unethical employees by any means or encourage that type of behavior, because in the long run, it'll be costly to the organization. Now, on this last slide, we wrap up the discussion on budgetary slack. And overall, the negative aspects of budgetary slack are much greater than the positive it brings. So yes, a company should worry about budgetary slack. So therefore, companies should look for ways to eliminate or reduce budgetary slack. And studies show that a top-down approach and allowing other managers to view their budgets and allocating productive resources based on budgeting are ways to combat the concept of budgetary slack. So if a company is either experiencing budget slack or looking for ways to prevent it, these three ways can begin to lay a foundation for reduction or elimination of budget slack. And companies who get rid of budget slack can then reap the true benefits the budgeting process can bring to their organization. Thank you.